Hi, I'm Cyclon, and this is part 2 of my beginner's guide. Trade website, stashes and trading. Now, the trade website is at this point a quite embedded tool in the whole PoE system. And there are some intuitive things like you can search for items. I want tabula rasa and select it and search for it. Well, that is a simple thing. But there are a few tricks you can do with the trade website to make your life a lot easier. I'm going to show some examples and some tips and tricks. For example, you look here, you need to know the exact wording. For example, critical strike multiplier. Oh, I missed it. With I want cold skills. Okay, now I could find it. But something you can do as well is use this little symbol and write crit mold light, and you got it too. With this, it searches for similar things, or it's like kind of an autofill. Or you want as an implicit +1 to socketed gems. Else if you would write plus, oh, I already wrote it wrong. Yeah, well, you see the issue here. So this is a to level. Oh, okay. I maybe should have done this like this. 2 level of socketed gems. Now I had to fully write it out until it was visible. With this, it's just a bit easier. Now the next thing you can do is a count. A count will be, you say 2. Let's go for that, 2 here. Oh, that wasn't the right chance. Second. And you say you want crit multi, you want melee crit multi, or you want fire crit multi, or you want lightning crit multi, or you want cold crit multi. So what this is going to do, it's going to find you any item that has at least 2 out of these 5. Intuitive if you know how to do it. So if you have like a skill like Wild Strike or Elemental Hit, which would scale with Fire, Lightning, Cold, Elemental and Global Crit Multi, and you just want any 3 out of those, on top of, let's say, percentage life. Well, with this you can find any combination of the count plus whatever you put on top. Now the next thing is, things can get pricey real quick. So you just, nope. So you can just say, I want at most things that cost 50 chaos. And maybe then nothing is up, so then you can activate the live search and get notified if anything for that with the cost of below 50 chaos will be listed, and you can message the person. I think messaging of here I will not have to explain how it goes. You click on Whisper, you go to game, Control V, and the rest is this. Just whisper people until they trade. I mean different people, not the same person. So the next cool feature you can do, I want to show here, is especially good in early league. Let's say you want sockets. You want a 6-link that is 2 grit and 4 green and has 70 life. Any rare, and it has to be armor based. So what I say here, it has to at least be 100 armor, and it has to be a 6-link with 2 red and 4 green sockets and 70 life. If I search for it, I get a lot of corrupted items. Corrupted items have random colored sockets, so that is why I did the exact search with 2 red, 4 green. This is a really neat thing to do early league. Now, what you could also do instead of saying armor, you could say, hey, I want it to cost at least 50 strengths. This can now also show weapons, and yeah, it's just a different trick. because items always have requirements, you can also search based on the requirements or the level requirement. If you say, okay, I'm level 60 character, so I don't want anything that goes above me right because I want to buy it right now, you will only find items that require you to be level 60 or below. Next thing, yeah, I guess this is quite explanatory. Heist is explanatory. Ultimatum isn't in the game. The rest is pretty explanatory. Influences got moved here, so if you look for influence and you want any elder and you want it to be a ring with the item level 80 and above, this would be the way you can do it. So they used to be under miscellaneous, they're now under stat filter. And the last thing I guess you can look is not. So you want any of that that doesn't have a life roll at all. Or you can do that any life roll below below 50. This should show life. Sorry, minimum 50. So this will show life rolls, but it will not show life rolls that are above 50 life. Well, those are the basics of trades. There would be one more thing. You can actually look for cluster gems quite easily. You first look for the adds, the symbol, passive skills. And for example, if you want a large, you would go at most 8, or maybe you want a 12, then you go minimum 12. Then this would be the thing that you can look for to get the enchantments. And then you can say, okay, I want any combination of these two notables. Or you can say, I want any combination of two notables. And search with that. Now, the neat thing about this one is you would search for your ideal result. Let's say you want these three notables. And that would be the combo you want. Right. Doing something wrong. Anyway, let's say this is the result you want. You see that it's 235 chaos. What you can do is you remove the count and you will see the base cost. And with that you can now judge, hey, should I craft this or should I buy this? Okay. I think that's all about the trade website. So let's go to the secondary part, actually selling items. You sell items in game. There is a trade chat, but the trade chat isn't really a good place to sell items. So you want a premium tab. In a premium tab, you can list any item, right click it, if it's actually on public, sorry, and say I want a negotiable or a public price on it. So I want to sell this for 50 chaos, and then it will be listed on the trade website for 50 chaos. Sadly, this is kind of behind a paywall because you need a premium tab to sell items, but I will come to that in a moment. Or you can actually do what I have done here. This is set a negotiable price on all items. So everything here is listed for 5 chaos somewhere on the trade website. Sometimes items are actually worth that, sometimes items are worth more and I'm going to get spammed. But I can also do, when something is more, just right click on it and set an exact price and say, okay, this item is not worth the 5 chaos like everything in this tab, but 20 chaos. Selling is honestly quite simple once you get it. There are some neat little tricks, which, like, I want to sell this for not 20 chaos, but Hunter Exalted Orb. Okay, so now there's a Split Reef map, and if we go back to the trade, and hopefully it already updated, we're looking for a reef map. We go to map filters and say it's a blighted map. It's not updated yet, so I can't show you. Normally it could actually appear here for 20 Hunter Exalted Orbs, under the assumption that it's written right. There are items, there's currency that can actually be sold or be bought. but it's not listed in the basic currency under here. And the Anti-Exalted Orb was the first example I came up with. I think there's also not the tainted currency. So you could say, okay, I want to sell this for 3 tainted chromatic orbs, and you would just write a minus instead of a space, because there's no space in the search thing. Just a quick addition that I realized I haven't talked about. We have better trading. It's in addition to the trade website where you can make bookmarks, so you can save trades that you have selected. For example, I want this to be a test, and I want to register my current trade as test to it. I can come back later to it, or you can pin items. So when you scroll through the list, that didn't want to pin them so you can see them. And it also shows you if people are reported on TFT for scamming, for abusing game system or whatnot. If they chose the name on red, and it tells you, hey, you might not want to trade with this guy. Also, it shows you history, so if you change anything, you want to change it back, you can go with that too. It's a nice utility tool. I do recommend it. I just forgot to mention it. And lastly, there is on Discord, there is a Forbidden Trove Discord. I'm going to show in a moment. There's this Discord where it became popular when you were able to sell harvest crafts in the Harvest League, but now it's used for quite a lot of different things. It's self-explanatory. The tabs say what's sold or what's bought in them, and it's a really nice thing to bulk sell items or to bulk buy items. You can also sell builds on there, so it is a nice thing to have. I'm going to leave a link in the comments to the Discord. It's worth joining and when you play a lot. Alright. Lastly, I want to talk about stashes, or rather when to buy them, and yeah, what order I would recommend buying them. So, stashes can be expensive somewhat depending on how much money you have. So I would only recommend to buy them when 2 conditions are fulfilled. First, there's a stash sale. Now, a stash sale is usually every weekend after the launch. So launch was last Friday. Today is Friday again, or at least in EU time. And now stashes are on sale. And the second thing is, you have done the campaign, you have done some maps, and you realize, hey, I am enjoying this game. I would not mind spending a bit of money on this game. The logic behind that is, if you buy a game like the new Halo that is going to come out at some point, the Halo Infinite, it's going to cost you between 40 and 60 euro or dollar or wherever you are. So it can be pricey. And that would then be something I am okay with spending on this game too. So never spend more than you're okay to spend with. It is not needed to do any in this game. Of course, it will help you hugely. But maybe you have a buddy that has all these tabs that could just help you out and stash items for you. Maybe. So let's take a look at, wait, careful, flashbang alert. I'm going to minimize this so it's not as heavy. There, this is not as bad. Should have done that before, sorry. So I see this like a priority of 3 and then it's whatever, because at that point you already spent quite a lot of money on this game. So the first thing is a currency, a map, and a premium tab. If you look again at this in-game, a currency tab will keep you currency. Currency is like a base need thing in the game. Also, you can't set up a currency tab public to sell currency if you have like an excess of transmutes. You can sell them for whatever, like chaos, if you have enough of them. Somebody needs transmutes. The second thing is a premium tab to be actually able to sell items, because like I said, in a normal tab you cannot sell items. And lastly, it's a map tab. for every map, for every tier, you have these boxes with items. I think it's like 72. So you have 72 items per map, and we have at least 118 maps. And then comes on tier top. So a map tab gives you so much space. Like literally, it's several quad tabs of space. I don't want to do the math. Somebody did it somewhere at some point. If you Google it, I think you will find it. But let's just say more than 2 quad tabs, which I hope is technically not wrong. And on top of that, it shows you where a Conqueror influence is and the completion. If our item has the yellow line, that means it is bonus completed, and it has a green line, it means it's awakening completed. So this one I haven't done yet at all. And this one I have done every completion. And then let's take an example of this one. I have not done the awakening. Of course, they added the feature, you can look at that with Alt. But a map tab is just so much space, so much convenience. You can store any map in there. The only thing you cannot properly store in there are Elder Guardian maps, because of the reason of, hey, those would put in a Gardens map and this would be an underground river, and you cannot search for Guardian and it will just highlight you the Guardian maps. So that 3 is like, let's call it the core map package. To really be able to have a nice gaming experience, it's kind of weird. I always say it's like a kind of pay to win, but then in this case, it's, if you take a look at it at this game, at this point you spend, when you would need to spend that money to be able to play through the whole game, it is you kind of expect to also play it for quite a while. And it would be, the cost on a normally, it would be, I did some math wrong there. That is a 2, sorry. You would be spending 265 coins. A rough math that I do is 10 coins equals 1 euro. So this would be 26 euro and 50 cents. Or on a sale it would be 21 euro. So 21 is, then again, it's a reasonable amount to spend on a game you expect to play 10 plus hours in. Well, maybe 20 plus hours. So this is the core. After that, there will be things that clutter your inventory and a quad stash tab. So the fragment, essence, and divination are things that stack on themselves now. Fragments didn't used to stack, so that's already a huge improvement, but there's a lot of them. There's a lot of fragments, there's a lot of essences, and there is a lot of divination cards. So if you just go, like, this is just what I picked up in 1 week. If you just go for the needed and sell everything else quickly, then that would be fine, but it will just stack up and it doesn't sell for much at most points. So you will need to be very picky with what you have because you have a limited amount of space. Which is fine, which is doable, but these would be the next stage of, hey, they are nice to have and they're not that expensive. Just that would be 10 euro for these 3 tabs with my rough equation. And then there would be the quad tab. A quad tab has a space of 4 normal tabs. And the way many people use it is, their first quad tab is they put it at the beginning of the stash, they run a map, they get to the stash, they dump everything, they run the next map and repeat. With affinities on top, it filters out everything in currency tabs and the special tabs, and you can then just dump the rest in the quad stash tab and filter out later. And of course you can as well put a price on, like let's say 10 chaos, so when people spam you for an item, you know that's not 10 chaos and you should reprice it. And if some point, like 5 hours after you dumped it there, somebody messaged you for an item in there, hey, you made 10 chaos that you might not have made after. And if you don't want to, you don't have to sell. That would be a total of 22. So at this point you would have spent 43 euros if you only buy at sales. And that is what I would pay like for a really game where I expect to spend like 100 hours in. Lastly, this would be the rest of the nice to have unique tabs. I call unique as in there's for special kind of currency. And I would upgrade the normal stashes to premium stashes so you can color them, so you can name them. Maybe you have a stash for your build, Maybe you have a stash for valuable items. Maybe you want a stash for flask like I do, or you want a stash for, what have I here, incubators. So I use them to name them so I know what's inside, and I can color them accordingly to my coloring pooling, which sometimes is not existent. So let's go quickly show them. Blight stashes oils. You can anoint in a blight tab, so you don't need to walk up to Cassia. It's a nice quality, but it's not needed. And it stashes the blighted maps, which would elsewise be stashed with the normal maps. Delirium is honestly not needed that much. You can place the orbs, you can now place delirium maps, and you can place simulacrums. And lastly, catalysts. You can stash catalyst and metamorph parts, which are quite cluttering when if you don't run them, but these are easily manageable, and this is not that much. Also, you have these free currency stack tab where you could also stash like simulacrum splinter, simulacrums, a few essences that you are chasing, or oops, that did not work out. That's why it wasn't listed. Before I get spammed, sorry. Yeah, and you can stash here. Lastly, fossils. It's also just nice to have, but these is really, you can just use any tab, and fossils don't take up too much space. So that's why I put them at rank 3. It's not really needed to go for any of these. In this case, it would be 16 euro for this part of the upgrade, would be a total of 57, which is still kind of reasonable for a really good game. Like, at this point, you have to really enjoy this game and see yourself playing it for several leagues or playing it for several months in standard. And lastly is like the last tab, we have a unique tab, which is kind of pricey. It is more for collectors or standard players, if you want to go for something, or if you just like to really just have one of each unique when you play a league. This is something I would not buy in your first league. Maybe if you see yourself, hi, I'm going to return for my second and my third and so on, and I really enjoy this game, go for it. It really just helps the developers. And lastly, I would get more quad tabs before just getting more premium tabs. The quad tabs is just so you can stash your first ones, and then you can stash a second one, or you have something like sometimes I quite clutter my quad tab with leveling or something for crafting. Now it's quite empty, maybe later it will be filled. And yeah, that's the stashes. So I repeat, I recommend to only buy stashes during sales, which heavily decreases the cost. Like if you just get the rank 1 to 3 upgrade packages like I recommend at this point, you would save 7 euros, which is 7 euros. And I would really recommend this order. Like, get the first one in your first league when you realize you enjoy the game, and hey, you really enjoy it and you want to play more. Then maybe in your second league, when you realize, hey, I still enjoy this game. I can see myself spending more leagues in this game or more time in standard. If you are not a league player, you just enjoy it so much, you can get the second package. And the third one is like, really, yeah, I see myself playing this for at least a year or even more, and I just enjoy it so much, I'm going to spend more game on this. And lastly, a last line of recommendation: if you want to buy money like these shop coins, actually don't know the name, MTX coins, let's call them that, buy them with supporter packs. It's more worth it because you get a bit of MTX on top, which sometimes looks okay, sometimes good, and sometimes absolutely amazing. All that being said, I hope this was helpful. If it was helpful, it would be nice to leave a like and maybe a comment. And if it wasn't helpful, please leave a comment and say why it wasn't helpful, what was wrong. I really want to improve, and that gives me the chance to. That all being said, have a great day.